Ceola Wilson, one-on-one.
So joining us in studio, we have Debbie Ray Rivers, the executive director and founder of SCARS. Thanks for joining us. And we have two guests who I just met. Well, the lady to my left I've known for a long time. We're like family. And we have another guest who's flown in for a week of festivities for SCARS, correct?
A week of some meetings and definitely talking to some people, and really basically mostly for this show.
So tell me, just before we go to our next guest, how does it feel, 12,000 people certified?
It feels great. It gives me great comfort to know that more protective eyes, as you described, are now on our children, and that is so very important. We'd like to see one day, we wouldn't have to do a show like this. We wouldn't have to hear people's pain. Because the fact is, as you know so well, Ceola, sexual abuse of children is preventable. And it just gives us great joy at SCARS to know that we are close to 0.25% of our adult population have the tools and the knowledge to protect their children. And it's just so important that we continue this work until we have 53,000 adults SCARS certified. That's our hope.
So, Kanika, I want to thank you for coming forward. I don't know your story. I haven't did a pre-briefing, but for our audience, tell us who you are and your story.
Well, my name is Kanika Smith, and when I was very little, I'll first start by saying that my mother passed away in a bike accident right outside my house when I was 4 years old. My dad was locked up for whatever lifestyle he lived. I ended up living with my grandmother for a little bit. She, I guess after seeing her daughter dead, she sort of lost it, plus she was an alcoholic. So it's my biological grandmother. And so she allowed her boyfriend to molest me every night, basically, while she stayed in the same room with me, and did nothing about it, Then after that, of course, they took me away from her. I became a ward of the court, like as if I had no family at all. The government took me, and they placed me into a home called the Sunshine League, which is very different now than it was back then. It has improved a lot, and I'm very grateful to those who have helped in there. And while I was in there, it seemed as though I had a target on my back or something, because I began to be molested in there as well by the older men in there. They called men because they were 18, and by women that was about the same age. Back then they had younger and older children there. It wasn't like it is today. And we had a lady there, and it's been many years. And I am allowed to say her name if I want to, because she's been deported. It was all in the news, Mr. Montanet. And she was a Barbadian, and she knew that we were being sexually abused. And I remember being caught. Well, I was in court. The young man was caught on top of me in a bathroom one day, and she caught him, and she beat me to silence, and I wasn't allowed to talk about anything. Just a second. And come to find out, the reason why this woman done this was because she was taking all our donations and sending them away to Barbados. So if there was any kind of investigation, she would have been investigated all the way, and she wouldn't be able to get away with what she was doing. But not only that, I was victimized more by being put in the front of the newspaper to get donations. It does make me a little angry when I think about it, because I was being victimized over and over again. It wouldn't stop, and I don't understand it. It made me, as I got older, finally I found some foster parents, and I thank God for them, but even as I became a teenager, I ran away from them, and I had all these relationships, I call them relationships, sex. I ended up on drugs and alcohol, I even prostituted to get my drugs and alcohol. And people know this about me, but they don't know my story. They just see what they see when they saw me on the streets and homelessness and everything else, but they didn't check on us. Even though this one was deported and they found out, like, nobody came to see how I was doing, you know, if anything had happened to us. But today, thank God for programs like SCAR programs, you know, the SCARS program, because I called them because I needed somebody to talk to, and I'm 46 years old now. You understand? But I had no one to talk to about this. Everything had to be pushed underneath the carpet. You know, when I tried to talk it to people, nobody wanted to hear. Everybody said, just get over it. Get over it. This is what people actually say to us. Get over it. I'm not understanding how I'm supposed to just get over this.
Poor choices as well in relationships, right?
Oh, yeah, because it came down to where I felt like my body, because it didn't stop there. I kept being molested by different people as well when I got older, a little older than that. It didn't stop, you know, but after a while, I went quiet on it because a 4-year-old doesn't want to stand up in court and tell a story like I had to. There was a lot of pressure on me. You know, I knew things I shouldn't have known. And when a child comes to you and tells you and describes to you things on men's bodies, they shouldn't know what it looks like. So please believe them. They're not lying. You know how many times I was told I was lying? My grandmother, when the police came, she blamed me. I'm standing there 4 years old. She's actually blaming me, cursing me rotten, you know, and then she tried to kill herself in front of me, to manipulate me, you know, for me to forgive her. I was still only 4 years old. You know, these things, I don't think a child's brain is supposed to be able to endure all this. I give thanks and praise to God because I'm still here. I haven't quite lost my mind, you know, but I still didn't get the counseling I needed. I didn't get the help. And of course, I kept going into abusive relationships over and over because I knew nothing else. This was comfortable for me. You know, if someone did love me, I didn't notice. You know, I didn't notice. And I guess even if somebody did try to, I almost needed the abuse to survive. I did. I needed it after a while. It became like almost an addiction as well. Not just to the drugs, not just to the alcohol, but the addiction to the abuse. If you abused me, I thought you loved me. Because everyone that said I loved you abused me. They did. You know, and now today I know the difference. But it took for me to get to know a loving father, God, for me to know what true love is. Because I didn't see it anywhere else. I'm going to be quite honest, I didn't.
So how has it changed you as a person?
It's made me more loving to my children, to others, period. You know, to be kind to people, to listen to people when they call me. You know, been like a little light. You know, at the end of the tunnel, you know, you just got a little light. And I think getting that little light is all I need right now. I mean, I'd like to be a bigger light, a brighter light. But right now, I have to continue to heal. I've not continued to heal yet. But I believe as I continue my journey of healing, I find that when I'm sharing with others my story, they don't feel so quite sorry for themselves anymore, you know? Because so many people want to commit suicide today, whether it be like on purpose or by using drugs and alcohol and whatever, you know, they're doing. You know, some people do thrills, ride their bikes up and down fast and die on the bikes. You know, we all have our addictions. But if someone shares a story with you and you just sit and listen to their story, they don't feel quite so
alone.
Yes, that's the exact word.
So, you know how it is in Bermuda. People really don't think things like prostitution exist here.
Oh, it does every day.
And it's a lucrative business.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I did it when I desperately needed it. At one time, I did it to eat one time because I was homeless. And I won't forget it. I did it one time to eat, even when I was sober. I had to do it just this one time, and I felt so bad. And felt really bad, but I needed to feed me and another person, you know, and I sacrificed myself. But it was a little easier because from a little girl, I was able to separate my mind from my body. You know, it's like an inner denial. This is not me. This is not really happening to me. You know, and the same thing, that's how I got through telling my story a long time ago, because I was like, I was talking about another little girl, not me. You know, so that's what I carried into that, so that I wouldn't feel so condemned and so ashamed of what I was doing. It was almost like to say, they made me into a whore before I became even a woman. Yeah, But I don't see myself like that anymore.
Thank God.
So healing has started to begin in my life, and people would call me these things, across the street on Court Street, call me a whore, just like that. Yeah, I was called it before I even was one, actually doing these things. But I started this as a 14-year-old, and I've only just told Debbie today, coming down. I started at 14. Nobody knew. But I did. And I can admit it. But I have to thank God that I'm not that person anymore. That I have my beautiful children to thank for that. I really do. And thank you for, my foster family that helped me get back on my feet this time too. Because I had nowhere to go to stay and stuff, and they helped. So I'm very grateful to them.
So where are you now with your healing?
Well, I'm in trauma treatment right now with a counselor. I've just started.
How's that going?
Well, to be honest, the first time I went, I really got through because I used to suffer with bad anxiety. And she explained to me, she showed me the circle of it and how trauma leads to you feeling that way, of not feeling safe.
Okay.
And so that helped me a lot.
Because
I used to always feel scared everywhere. Like, if I'm here by myself, I feel scared. I don't want to fly. I don't want to do anything, even just going on a boat sometimes would be fearful for me because I just didn't feel safe wherever I was, Right. But between and her, she's also a spiritually minded person. So it helps with me as well, but God has been good to me, and his comfort as well when no one else was there,
So what would you say to a young person hearing your story now who has kept their abuse bottled up inside? What would you be?
Oh my goodness.
What would be your advice to them? Because abuse victims bottle it up. Some people for years, some people never tell. What would you say to that person?
Don't do that. If the first person don't listen to you, tell somebody else. And you keep telling until somebody hears you. Okay? Because you don't want to end up my age having to deal with the things that I've had to deal with. You can avoid it all. Yes, there's going to be some pain, because if you don't face it and deal with it, then you will be doing what I'm doing, covering it up with drugs and alcohol and all that. You don't want to, and sleeping with men or whatever to cover up the pain too, thinking that that's the way you're gonna find love. It's not. Trust me, it's not. And you have to tell your story. Because if you don't, you look like I did, thinking that there was another child, not me. That's the way I looked at it for the longest while. Like I didn't feel anything, but I felt it. But that's why I want to know myself so much. So you must tell your story. And like I said again, if the first person don't listen, you keep going until somebody hears you. And now you've got a place like the SCARS program. And if nobody, mama and daddy ain't listening, or auntie and uncle ain't listening, you get on that phone and you call yourself. If you have to, you ask your teacher to call, whoever. Don't worry about getting nobody in trouble. Because you are the victim. You are the child. You are not supposed to be dealing with these adult things. No.
Okay, we'll be back right after this.
We'll be right back.